So, if you're learning a new language, maybe English, you probably know the feeling. The biggest challenge isn't always, the grammar.
Oh, definitely not.
It's the persistence. It's just showing up again on day, say, 100, when you feel just as slow, maybe, as you did back on day 1.
That feeling is so common. It's practically universal, really. And our research stack, it backs this up. Learning a language takes a huge amount of cognitive energy.
Right.
And the fatigue you feel, it's not some kind of moral failing or lack of willpower. It's a real psychological drain. It's actually measurable.
So it's okay to feel slow.
It's completely normal to feel slow. But, and this is key, that feeling doesn't mean you've actually stopped growing or learning.
Okay, good. So our mission today then is to sort of move past the usual advice, just keep going. We want to pull out the sharpest, most powerful psychological tools from the sources we looked at.
Actionable strategies.
Exactly. Actionable things that can reframe how you think about persistence, help you figure out how to refuel your motivation, and crucially, how to see the progress that you are definitely making.
Even when it feels completely invisible.
Yeah, even when it feels invisible. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the first step, and it's often the first thing to wobble when you get tired, is adjusting your mindset.
Right. The way you think about it.
Exactly. People often think motivation has to be this loud, raw, emotional excitement all the time.
Yeah, like a constant cheerleader in your head.
Right. But the psychological reality, it's usually much quieter. Motivation is often just that simple, quiet, persistent willingness to, try again tomorrow.
I like that. Persistence over passion, almost. Or maybe passion fuels persistence.
Yeah.
Anyway, the way the source material frames the journey is, I thought, really helpful. It describes learning a language like climbing a mountain.
It's a great metaphor, isn't it? Because it instantly takes off that pressure for perfection. You don't have to summit the mountain tomorrow.
Or even next month.
Exactly. And the climb isn't smooth. Some days are steep, really tough going. Other days feel like plateaus where you just don't seem to be gaining any altitude at all.
You feel stuck.
Yeah. And some days, honestly, you just need to rest at base camp. Just stop and recover.
But the key psychological insight here, it seems, is about where you're looking. When you feel stalled, you're probably just looking up at the peak, think,
oh my gosh, I have so far to go.
Right.
Precisely. And the trick is you need to deliberately turn around, look back down the mountain, see how far you've already come.
Ah, okay.
You realize, hey, I'm not at the bottom anymore. I understand things now that I absolutely couldn't grasp 3 months ago or even last month. You've already put in significant work.
So the discipline isn't about never getting tired.
Not at all. The discipline lies in what our sources call the core principle of return. When you're tired, okay, rest. When you're confused, maybe just breathe, step back. But then you return, you try again.
And even those small steps count.
Absolutely. Even small steps are always good steps. Keep going slowly, gently, step by step.
Okay, speaking of small steps, let's get tactical. Because what happens when that quiet voice of persistence you mentioned is barely a whisper?
Yeah, when you're really feeling drained.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. We pulled out 5 incredibly specific psychological tips for keeping that momentum going when the deep fatigue really sets in.
And these strategies, they're all focused on one thing: minimizing the barrier to actually starting, what psychologists sometimes call activation energy.
Right. Making it easier to just begin. Which brings us neatly to tip number 1. Do just a little.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, we're talking micro effort here. We all have this idea that we should study for an hour, right? But thinking about that big chunk of time...
It's daunting. That heavy cognitive load often stops us from even starting in the first place.
So the breakthrough is?
The breakthrough is realizing your immediate goal isn't mastering the language in that moment. It's simply starting.
Just getting over that initial hump.
Exactly. Our sources suggest aiming for ridiculously small commitments. Like, listen for just 5 minutes, read one short paragraph, repeat one sentence out loud.
That sounds almost too small.
But that shift from a big task, like study English for an hour, to a tiny commitment, listen for 5 minutes. It bypasses your brain's natural resistance. Psychologically, 1 minute is infinitely easier to face than 0 minutes. And it's definitely better than doing nothing.
Okay, but I can hear someone thinking, if I only do 5 minutes, isn't that just like advanced procrastination? Is that really enough to make a difference?
It's enough to maintain the habit. And in the long run, that's the real goal on those tough days. Consistency. Plus, think about it. Once you actually start, even for 5 minutes,
You might keep going.
the likelihood of continuing for 10 minutes, maybe 15, increases dramatically. You've broken through that starting inertia. And that little win, just starting, it gives you a little dopamine hit, which reinforces the behavior itself. Makes you slightly more likely to do it again.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about the behavior loop. So building on that reinforcement idea, tip number 2 is about digging deeper. Remember, your reason, your why.
Yes, and this is about tapping into intrinsic motivation, that internal, deep-seated desire, not just external rewards like grades.
So why did you start learning English in the first place?
Exactly. Was it for a better job? To travel more confidently? Maybe just for the sheer enjoyment of understanding movies or music? When you feel exhausted, connecting back to that core reason, that's your emotional fuel.
And the sources suggested not just vaguely thinking about it, right, but making it concrete.
Yes, actively engage with it. Maybe write it down on a sticky note where you'll see it every day. Or even just say it out loud, I'm doing this so I can. Make that why loud enough to kind of drown out the tired voice that wants you to quit.
Okay. And that connects nicely to tip 3. Make it easy. This sounds like it's about environment.
Definitely. It's environmental psychology, really. If starting your study session involves, say, spending 10 minutes digging through drawers to find your notebook, or trying to remember which app you are using.
You're probably not going to do it. Too much friction.
Exactly. You've already used up your limited willpower just getting ready. So remove that friction. Don't wait for the perfect time or the perfect mood.
So practically, what does that look like?
Simple things. Physically put your English book right there on your desk. Open. Save the link to that YouTube channel you like right on your phone's home screen. Set a recurring 10-minute timer on your phone that just goes off every day at the same time.
Make it almost harder not to start.
Precisely. Make starting the absolute path of least resistance.
Okay, tip 4. This one felt really important for the long haul. Be kind to yourself. This sounds a bit soft, maybe, but you're saying it's more than that.
Oh, it's much more. It goes way beyond just general self-care. There's actually a profound biological basis for this when it comes to learning.
Okay, tell us more. Why does being kind matter psychologically for language acquisition?
Well, think about that negative self-talk. When you're constantly telling yourself, I'm so slow, or I'm terrible at this, my pronunciation is awful.
Which is easy to do.
Very easy.
Yeah.
But saying those things actually releases cortisol, the stress hormone, and high cortisol levels. They actively inhibit your brain's ability to form new memories and integrate complex things like new language structures.
Wow, okay. So beating yourself up literally makes it harder to learn.
It literally does.
Right.
It raises what linguists call the affective filter. Stress blocks learning. So by consciously replacing those negative thoughts with affirmations, simple things like, okay, I'm learning here, I'm trying my best, this is progress,
Yeah.
you actually lower that filter. You make your brain physically more receptive to taking in the new information.
So being kind literally makes you, well, smarter at the task at hand. That is a fantastic deep dive nugget right there.
It's absolutely necessary for building resilience over time. And that brings us to the final practical tip. Tip 5. Celebrate small wins. Since we know motivation is tied to that dopamine reward cycle we mentioned, you have to actively, consciously define what counts as a win. Because, let's face it, language progress often feels microscopic day to day.
Right. So a win isn't just acing a test or having a perfect conversation.
Absolutely not. On a tough day, a win is simply showing up. Did you manage those 5 minutes of listening you aimed for? That's a win. Did you learn one new word today? Win. Did you just try to read a sentence you didn't fully understand? That effort is the win.
Focus on the process, not just the outcome.
Exactly. Acknowledge the small efforts. Pat yourself on the back, mentally at least. That reinforces the behavior and genuinely makes you more likely to want to return to it tomorrow.
Okay, those 5 tips are super concrete. But that brings us perfectly to the next big challenge, doesn't it? You follow these steps, you put in the time, you practice, but you look around, maybe listen to native speakers, and you just think, I still feel the same. I don't see the improvement. How do we make that invisible progress feel, well, visible?
This is so critical because if you can't perceive progress, your brain often defaults to assuming failure, which kills motivation. We need ways to get concrete data points, not just rely on subjective feelings, which can be really unreliable.
Okay, so how do we measure it? Strategy 1 you pulled out was write things down.
Yeah, simple but powerful. Keep a small, dedicated English notebook. Doesn't have to be fancy. Jot down new words you encounter, maybe sentences you particularly liked or found useful. Or even better, try writing just one single sentence in English each day, summarizing what you did or learned related to English.
How does that make progress visible?
It provides a tangible record for comparison later. When you flip back through that notebook after a month or even 3 months and you reread what you wrote, or you look at vocabulary that felt really hard back then.
And now it seems easy.
Exactly. You gain undeniable objective evidence that your understanding is deepened. That feeling of, oh, I remember struggling with that word and now I just know it, that is the visible progress you need to see.
Okay, tangible proof. Strategy 2 uses tech for objectivity. Record your voice.
Right. Use your phone. Everyone has one. Record yourself saying something simple and consistent. Maybe just introducing yourself. Hi, my name is Hankry. I'm learning English because. Or describe your day in a couple of sentences. And then this is the important part. Do it again next week and the week after.
So you create a series of snapshots.
Precisely. The power here is it removes your own subjective judgment in the moment. You might feel like your pronunciation is still terrible today, but when you actually listen back and compare the recording from week 1 to the recording from week 4 or 5,
You'll hear the difference.
you will hear measurable improvements. Maybe in your rhythm, your confidence, your intonation, using certain sounds more accurately, things your immediate self-criticism completely glosses over. You literally hear the progress.
That's clever. Okay, strategy 3 is about noticing quieter signs. Less about formal tracking, more about awareness.
Yeah, this is about turning into the subtle signals that the language is moving from conscious, clunky effort towards more automatic processing in your brain. Neurological integration, basically.
So what kind of quiet signs should you look for?
Look for those little moments, those small victories, like suddenly understanding a full sentence in a song without having to mentally translate every single word.
Oh, yeah. That's a great feeling.
Isn't it? Or maybe watching a short video clip and realizing you followed the gist without needing the subtitles right away. Or simply managing to say a phrase or sentence without meticulously constructing it in your native language first.
Those little shifts are the real indicators, aren't they? That the information is actually sticking, moving from short-term memory to something more permanent.
They absolutely are. And the final strategy here is really about perspective. Look back, not just forward.
We touched on this with the mountain analogy.
Exactly. We humans seem to have this built-in cognitive bias to focus on our future deficits. We're always looking at what we can't do yet.
I still can't speak fluently. I still make so many mistakes.
Right. Stop saying that, or at least balance it. Instead, deliberately ask yourself, could I have understood this particular deep dive discussion, say, 2 months ago? Could I have easily written 3 sentences in English a year ago?
Probably not.
Probably not. Acknowledge that growth. Remember, slow progress is the only kind of progress that really lasts in language learning. It's compounding.
Okay, so tracking progress is vital. And to make sure that slow, steady progress keeps happening, we really need to address something huge that holds so many people back, the fear of making mistakes.
Oh, it's massive. That fear of being corrected or just knowing your grammar isn't perfect yet, it can be paralyzing for learners.
So how do we reframe that?
We have to truly internalize that learning is a journey, not some kind of performance or a standardized test you have to pass every time you open your mouth. Mistakes aren't failures. They are essential data points.
Data points, explain that.
Each mistake you make gives your brain crucial information about how the language works or how it doesn't work. It's feedback. Your brain needs that feedback to adjust its internal model of the language.
I love the analogy the sources used. Think about a baby learning to walk.
It's perfect, isn't it? They fall down hundreds, maybe thousands of times.
And we don't scold them for bad posture.
Exactly. We don't criticize their form. We cheer them on. We encourage them. We say, come on, try again. You are doing the exact same developmental process with English. You're building new neural pathways. Falling is part of it.
So if someone corrects you,
try to see it as a gift, genuinely. Okay, maybe it stings for a second, but it's a specific piece of information your brain can use to get better. And to help counter that anxiety around mistakes, the sources really emphasized incorporating joy into the process.
making it feel less like work.
Making learning feel like play, not pressure. And that might mean, sometimes just ditching the boring textbook for a bit.
So what kind of fun things?
Listen to English music you actually enjoy dancing or singing along to. Watch short, funny videos on YouTube or TikTok. Talk to yourself in the mirror in English about things you find interesting, not just grammar rules. Read articles or blogs about your hobbies, but in English.
Things you do anyway, but in the target language.
Precisely. Because when you engage your emotions in a positive way, when you actually smile while you're studying or interacting with English, your brain releases chemicals that actually enhance memory consolidation. Fun literally accelerates learning.
Okay, so be kind, track progress, embrace mistakes, find the fun. If we connect all this daily effort, these 5-minute chunks, these moments of self-kindness to the bigger picture, it becomes really clear why it matters, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, English stops being just, a subject you study. It transforms into a tool, a key, really.
A key that unlocks what?
Well, global mobility, for one. Access to information and people. Connection.
Connection feels huge. When you learn English, you're essentially plugging into a global conversation with, over 1.5 billion people?
At least. And that connection isn't abstract. It means you can potentially communicate directly with individuals from almost anywhere. Think Brazil, Vietnam, Iran, Spain, Iraq, Ukraine, Russia, South Korea, Japan, Indonesia, Thailand. The list goes on and on. It gives you a way to be understood almost anywhere in the world.
That's powerful.
And practically speaking, it just opens so many doors. Better job opportunities, maybe studying abroad, traveling more independently and confidently, working for international companies.
More choices.
Fundamentally, yes. Proficiency in English increases your choices in life. More websites, more tools, more resources, more companies operate in English. It gives you more freedom and more opportunity, personally and professionally.
So wrapping this up then, what does this all really mean? Our deep dive today, it seems to show that motivation isn't magic. It's about persistence, rooted in practical behavior science.
Yeah, and that those tiny micro efforts, those 5-minute chunks, they really do aggregate into massive results over time.
And that we need to actively use these psychological tools like objective tracking, self-kindness, finding the joy to actually sustain the journey long enough for those results to show up.
Exactly. And in the end, what truly matters isn't perfection. It's just showing up. You are trying, you are growing, you are building a skill day by day that can fundamentally shift your future path. It really doesn't matter if you speak slowly or make mistakes along the way.
Just that you're engaged in the process.
Just that you keep returning, keep engaging.
Maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is just to reflect on the profound courage it takes to even start learning a new language. Seriously, think about it.
It's true.
That's an act of commitment to your own growth that, honestly, many people are afraid to even attempt. So simply showing up each day, even for just 5 minutes, that's an act of bravery. Keep listening, keep speaking, keep reading, and keep believing in the power of just returning tomorrow.